Hey guys, welcome to another episode in the Wealth Rewired Podcast. My name is Mark Robinson. I'm your host today, and I am by my little lonesome. And my beautiful wife is, just not quite right. So she's out for the day. But anyway, hey, look, I wanted to have a bit of a rambling chat today because, look, I've been contemplating life, and I don't know whether it's because as you get older, you start to think about, the things that have been and what's gone on. And, I must admit the biggest thing for me right now is I keep going, how the hell did I get here? And I'm getting, truth bumps, as we call them, goosebumps. And so this session feels quite right. So for me, guys, it's like, how did I get here? Like I look back, right? I'm being a bit hard on myself, but I feel like I was nothing special. I wasn't born into wealth. I had a pretty cool childhood. Didn't want for anything, but even though we had no money, like I didn't even know what a steak was until I was 10. And I look back and I go, how did I actually get to become someone with a podcast? Someone with multiple books. This is our latest book, Wealth Rewired. And honestly, ladies, if you really want an incredible read, my wife has wrote the Feminine Wealth Code, and it is absolutely sensational. The women who have had a chance to read it they couldn't put it down. They've read it. It's going on. It's coming straight from the heart. And I'll make sure that if you want to know where to get it, I'll make sure there's a link somewhere, or reach out to us for both of them, the Wealth Rewired book and the Feminine Wealth Code. And, I just saw them there. And I look back and I go, how did I become an author? Did I have my own podcast? How did I build multiple successful businesses? I had a couple of businesses that failed as well. But I always look back, and I think the one thing that stands out for me is I gave it a go. Right, I just, I didn't sort of take no. I just sit, I just went, what, bugger it. Probably the biggest turning point for me was I was in real estate up in Townsville, and my boss, I had a lot of respect for him. And I look back, and there was we had a good relationship with a mortgage broker as well. And the mortgage broker really believed in me, right? He wanted to bring me in more into the business, so not just the salesperson, but bring me in. And I remember my boss, right, Brad, he turned around and I was in the room, and he said to the mortgage broker, he goes, Mark will always just be a worker. He won't really do much more than that. He's a really good worker. He's strong and, does his thing. And, I didn't really say much at that time, but it really sort of, maybe that was the fuel that I needed. Whereas not long after that, I actually quit that job, right? And I built my business. I became a mortgage broker. We moved south from Townsville. I went from that to building a business. And the second part, right, when we moved from Townsville down to the Sunshine Coast, I got a job as a mortgage broker with a guy, and again he invited me in as equity, right? And I said, okay, cool. And but when I got to the job, right, it turned out that there wasn't room for me with equity. And I kind of went, you know what? Okay, cool. I've already moved, relocated my family. We had Jazzy at the time, who was like 6 months old. And I said, okay, cool. I'll just go out and write mortgages, right? And I smashed it, right? I literally wrote a ton of mortgages. And, the guy who invited me down, he actually quit. So the people who had the rest of the equity, wanted to know what I wanted to do. And I said, look, I'll take over as equity. I will, give this a real red hot go. And I did, right? It became a successful business. A couple of years later, I found out that being in business with these guys, they weren't quite exactly the way I wanted to do things. And also found out that they kind of screwed me as well. So I actually just rebranded and went out totally on my own, owned 100% of the business, obviously with Billy. And it was just interesting, right? I look back and I go, man, those little fuels, right, where people thought I couldn't do anything, I made sure that I proved them wrong. And life it hasn't been great. Sorry, man, life's been amazing. Look, it hasn't been perfect, right? We've made some big mistakes in life. That's kind of what I meant, because I really enjoy my life. I love what I'm doing. We're currently living in the Gold Coast, and we're contemplating moving up to the Sunshine Coast again, where it sort of all began. And look, the real points that I want to get through in today's session, guys, is we never gave up. We backed ourselves. We made sure that there were a couple of times we burnt the bridge, right? We made sure that we couldn't go back. That was, one time when I said I could always go back into real estate. I'd never renewed my license. When I got out of mortgage broking and went into financial planning, I didn't renew my mortgage broker's license. When I got out of financial planning, I didn't renew I gave it back, right, so I could speak the truth. So there was always these parts where I went, you know what, there's no going back from here. There is a path forward, right till now, where I look back and I go, man, here I am. And, we're about to buy a bank. So we've bought a bank. We're about to launch a bank, right? And I go, whoa, how did I get here? And, I'm pretty certain that it was because I just backed myself in the end. I didn't believe the negativity from people who I thought were my mentors, and I gave it a really, really good go. And so I hope, like I said, I knew this was going to be a bit of a rambling session today, but I just wanted to just share that, no matter what life throws at you, right? No matter where you are, if you truly want to get to where you want to be, you just got to do it, right? And for me, it comes down to how important it actually genuinely is. I hear a lot of people say they want to be financially free, yet they won't do what it takes to become financially free. And I'm not saying do things outside your values, right? Or do things illegal to get there. I'm talking about what are you willing to change and are willing to do to make that happen. Because we all have the same time, right? We still have the same 24 hours in a day. And yet some people just genuinely, right, they seem to have like 40 hours in a day. They get so much done. And I know for a fact, guys, hand on heart, I could get way more done than I do, right? But I like laying by the pool. I like watching TV. Probably watch too much TV. But I still get stuff done, right? And I still get to that next level, and we're about to ramp up as well, right? We've got a bunch of stuff that we really want to achieve this year, and we know that with 2030 coming up, that there are more and more things are going to have to be achieved for us to get this done, right? We're going to have to make sure everything that we have is completely you're going to have things that are off grid. You're going to have things inside the system, and you're going to have a good balance between the two. Yeah, I hope that's making sense. Alrighty, sorry guys, I thought I was about to sneeze. So where to from here, guys? Where's the biggest takeaways from here? Look, just back yourself, right? Really feel into the intuition, right? It's okay if it doesn't work. Like I said, we've had a couple of things that haven't worked, and I'll probably share those again. I've spoken briefly about how an accountant cost us $1 million to fix his mistakes. I've spoken briefly about how one guy stole $2 million off us. And not long after, the accountant cost us that money, right? And then we had an opportunity that cost us about $5 to nearly $6 million. And it just collapsed, right? Nothing untoward. It just, eventually didn't work. So this is where, and out of all those failures, we've always got through. We're helping more and more people. We know that there is, with the bank that we're building, guys, we're going to be able to help even more, right, on bigger scales. And the more people we help, then the more, we're going to be able to get to my ultimate goal, which is to change the charity industry. Yeah. And so that's ultimately is, as I get older, I must admit, I'm looking at myself in today's recording going, oh my God, Mark, you got older this week. So that's how it is. So Look, like I said, right at the start, I was open. It was a bit of a rambling one today. But I felt that, it's sort of what it's needed, right? Sometimes you just want to be able to just chat without any sort of specific script or agenda or whatever the case may be. And, I'll go a bit deeper in some of the stuff that I've learned in the next episode. You've noticed that we've wanted to keep these episodes really short, really sharp, under 15 minutes long. We do have some special guests coming up, so there will be some longer podcast episodes as well. But guys, keep things sharp. Do what you've got to do. I would love it if you, after this episode, just take a moment just to go, what do I actually want, right? And what am I actually prepared to do to make it happen? Because if you guys can do that, that's the key. You know what I mean? Like I look back and I go, I'm still overweight. I've actually put on weight, and it's funny. I've been doing a few things differently, and people think I've lost weight, right? Bless those people. But the key here, guys, is to I'm trying, right? And I am trying, right? And it's not none of that Yoda crap where what does he say? There is no try, only do. But I'm genuinely trying to get my health right. Into my highest values so that then it becomes automatic. And so I'm doing little things is what I've decided is just to do those little things every day. All right, change this part. And then once that becomes a habit, then change the next part. Once that becomes a habit, change the next part, so on and so on. And it's starting to work, right? I'm feeling stronger. I'm doing these little protocols. I'm utilizing different stuff. And so, I'll share with people once they work, right? No point saying, hey, I'm using this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, if it doesn't ultimately end up working for me. So, for you guys in your wealth creation journeys, right, what's working, keep moving on that. But ultimately, what do you want to get out of it? And are you willing to do what it takes to become whatever it is? Whether you want to be financially free, whether you want to be financially independent, two different things. Right? And then work out what it is. And once you've got that, then we can help you guys to achieve what you want to do, right? We'll help you build out the sovereign roadmap, because you need to become financially free to escape some of the stuff that's going on and about to happen in this world. But I'll leave that there for now. Like I said, I'll get clear in the next one, and I'll go bang, 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 bang. Right? But I just wanted to share, those couple of moments, one with Brad, right? And then one with the other guy in the equity on the Sunny Coast. And that were the changing points, because they were the ones that made me go, you know what? F you. Bye for now. As always, guys, if you do like this episode, feel free to share it, like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.